This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm your host, Blake Watson with Epic Realty, and today we'll be comparing the real estate policies of two presidential candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, and we're going to discuss how their plans could impact homeownership, rental markets, and real estate investment. So whether you're a homeowner, a renter, or investor, these platforms have something that could affect you. Now, my sources for today's podcast are the official campaign websites for each of the candidates. So those websites are KamalaHarris.com and DonaldJTrump.com. Now, when I logged on to each of those websites, both of them initially focused more on asking me to give money to the campaign than any other information. But they do have the official platform of each of the candidates posted on their website. And I might add that both websites and official platforms are thin on details. They both have a lot of positive ideas that sound really good, things that I think most Americans would agree are good. However, neither platform gives much detail, and they both leave you wondering how a particular plan or an idea might actually play out in real life. So I encourage you to look at each of these websites yourself, review the past actions and performance of each of the candidates, and draw your own conclusions. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on the stated policies that they're publishing on their website, but understand that they're just my thoughts, and I completely respect your right to think differently. I'm thankful to be an American, and I consider the right to make up my own mind and vote to be one of the greatest pillars of our great country. So I hope you also will do your own research and decide for yourself what you think is best, and then vote. So let's dive in, and we'll start with Kamala Harris's vision to expanding homeownership. She aims to make homeownership more accessible, especially for first-time buyers. And one of the cornerstones of her plan is a $25,000 down payment assistance program for working families who've been renting and want to buy a home. And I'm going to read something straight from her published platform, so you'll see how that $25,000 down payment assistance is envisioned. So here it is, a quote. As Vice President Harris's plan starts to expand the supply of entry-level homes, she will, during her first term, provide working families who have paid their rent on time for 2 years and are buying their first home up to $25,000 in down payment assistance, with more generous support for those whose parents did not own a home. So see, even there on her own platform, there are a few more details and a few more restrictions on how that $25,000 down payment assistance might occur. The idea in this program is to help people make that leap from renting to owning and giving them a chance to build wealth and stability. And I might add that this $25,000 down payment assistance is certainly a large amount and is a relatively new idea, but for many years there have been down payment assistance programs that are administered by the states of Georgia and Tennessee, up to 5-6% of the purchase price of a home. There are certainly restrictions around that, but there are first-time home buyer programs already in place that have helped thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of homeowners get into their first home in Tennessee or Georgia. And that is something we have talked about on this podcast before. But let's move on. So continuing on with Harris's platform, it includes a neighborhood homes tax credit to encourage the construction or rehabilitation of affordable homes in lower income communities. Now, this tax credit would help build over 400,000 affordable homes, specifically targeting those who want to become homeowners and residents rather than large corporations. Her policies aim to address the supply issue in affordable housing as she's pushing for what her website calls the most significant effort to expand housing supply since World War II. Now, that's quite a claim. This means we could see a surge in new affordable homes, which would make it easier for first-time home buyers to enter the market. Now, let's look at Donald Trump's focus on housing affordability. Former President Donald Trump's platform highlights the need to make housing more affordable, but his approach differs significantly from the Harris campaign. His plan focuses on cutting inflation and reducing mortgage rates to make homeownership more affordable. Additionally, Trump proposes to open limited portions of federal land for new home construction, which could increase the housing supply without needing to overhaul regulations or push new tax incentives like Harris's plan does. And I might just add there that federal land doesn't mean national parks. I mean, that certainly is federal land, but the United States government owns a lot of real estate throughout the country. Trump also promises to promote homeownership through tax incentives and regulatory cuts. By cutting regulations that drive up housing costs, he believes home builders will be able to construct more homes at lower prices, which could benefit both buyers and investors. It's a more market-driven approach that's focused on reducing government intervention in housing and letting the free market increase the affordability. Now, let's talk about the rental market and the investor impact. Harris's plan is centered around expanding affordable rental housing by increasing the low-income housing tax credit, which would help build 1.2 million new affordable rental homes. Now, by increasing the supply, her platform hopes to lower rental prices and make renting more affordable. Trump's plan, while it's less detailed on rentals, would likely impact the rental market through his focus on inflation and regulatory cuts. Lower inflation and reduced regulatory burdens could certainly ease the cost of constructing new rental properties, potentially leading to more supply in the market and moderating the rent prices. So there are fewer specific programs targeted at renters in his plan compared to Harris's. For real estate investors, both platforms offer opportunities, but in different ways. Harris's focus on affordable housing and tax incentives for new developments could provide opportunities for those that are interested in the affordable rental market and investing in that market. Trump's emphasis on cutting regulations and opening federal lands could make it easier for investors to enter the market with fewer barriers. Now, Harris's platform also addresses an issue that is not covered in Donald Trump's platform, a growing concern that I do hear people talking about: the influence of large corporate landlords and Wall Street investors in the housing market. Now, her proposal includes measures to limit the impact of institutional investors who've been buying up single-family homes. By passing the Stop Predatory Investing Act, she aims to remove tax benefits for large investors who buy homes in bulk, with the idea that it will make it easier for local buyers to compete. Now, Trump, by contrast, doesn't have any specific measures targeting institutional investors in his housing plan. His approach is more about increasing the overall supply of homes and reducing costs through deregulation, without focusing on how large investors would influence the market. Both candidates recognize the need to increase the housing supply, but they go about it in different ways. And Harris is focused on federal incentives and tax credits to encourage the construction of affordable homes and rental units. Trump, meanwhile, wants to open federal land for development and reduce regulations that he believes are driving up costs. Both plans aim to address the same issue, which is housing affordability, but they differ in the mechanisms they use. So for buyers and sellers, these policies would shape the housing market in different ways. Harris's plan is more targeted, aiming to directly influence affordability for working families, while Trump's focuses on the broader economic picture of reducing inflation and regulations to make homeownership more attainable. So there you have it. Two different visions for the future of real estate in America. Kamala Harris's plan leans on federal intervention, tax credits, and down payment assistance. And Donald Trump's plan is more focused on cutting inflation, reducing regulations, and promoting free market solutions to drive down costs. Both approaches could have significant impact on homeownership, rental markets, and investment opportunities, but in very different ways. And as we wrap up, again, I encourage you to look at each of these websites yourself, review those past actions and performance of each of the candidates, draw your own conclusions, and get out and vote. I'm Blake Watson, agent with Epic Realty, and my mobile phone is 423-315-1815, and my brokerage office phone is 888-893-3537. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson, and on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. My website is athomechattanooga.com. And if this podcast has been helpful for you, informative for you, then please share this podcast with a friend and follow this podcast so you won't miss an episode. And until next time, I wish you all the best in your real estate journey.